to form the panel made up of active and retired judges from all levels of the state judiciary. The hope is it will develop programs and protocols for education and training in implicit bias and make recommendations concerning the impact of race on court processes.
The managing director of Paragon Trust Company and tax and private client practitioner joins us to bring a common sense approach to money in a world of total insanity. Let's welcome Tony D'Angelo.
All right, Tony. It's every Tuesday. Tony joins us talking about many different things. He usually chooses, and he chooses. He does the research, comes back, and it's usually pretty amazing. Tony, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm proud to be among you guys.
All right, so where are we going today?
Well, you know something, and I'm always trying to keep this to the green, and this is about as green as you can get, as my face turns red. It dawned on me over the weekend that we're being gaslighted, and what do I mean by that? I'm very fortunate in the fact that I had a dad who grew up running movies, so I got to see a lot of these things on TV. Of course, if you were my dad, you were telling me the ending 20 minutes before it ended. But Dad, don't do that! But the movie Gaslight was made in 1944, Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer, and it's basically a husband who's pulling a mind game on a wife. But I know I put that over there. Oh, no, you didn't. You did something else. But, I'm sure of it. And after a while, she starts to lose her quote-unquote belief in herself. And this is our culture today, because we look at things that we know are bad or wrong or, just entirely, antithetical, if I'm saying that right, to our culture. And we're told we're horrible people and we're racist, and how do we feel that way? In other words, we get enough of it and we're being gaslighted. If you were around Lee Elci on Saturday, and few people were, there was a memo that came out from OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, where Russell Vought, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the director, made a directive to all the agencies, the United States government, saying things like there's training going on of our institutions, of our agencies. And we're going to cut off the funding of this because we find that the training talks about things that people benefit from racism, things undercutting our core values. Federal workers are taught that the United States is an inherently racist or evil country, or certain races, or like Asian people, they're evil. And this is actually going on. Now, I'm thinking to myself, okay, Mr. Trump, Mr. Mnuchin, are you guys really at the switch watching this stuff? This actually goes back a bit farther. The training is based on something known as critical race theory. And what is critical race theory? Well, it started in the 1980s. And it became, I think it might have started innocently enough of consider the perception of the other person who may come from an entirely different place of you, and, try to look at things from their perspective. And somehow this is all kind of morphed into whatever you want to call it. I'm going to just call it what I think it is, or really what it's really showing itself to be, kind of like quasi-reverse racism on steroids. And some of the things, now this is going on in the federal government, and actually it's going on in the state. We'll get to that at the end. There's a man, his name is Howard Ross. He's a Caucasian man, and he's probably received about $7 million over the course since 2011 and running these seminars. The Treasury Department, people in the Treasury Department, they go to seminars, and they are told that they have to accept their unconscious bias, white privilege, white fragility. I'm white. I don't feel either privileged or fragile. I'm sorry to disappoint you. The National Credit Union Administration was 8,900 employees are told that America was founded on racism and built on the backs of people who were enslaved. I guess they must have missed my grandfather. Now, the things at Sandia Labs are really the most, whatever you want to call it, egregious. Now, this is the group that's responsible for our national security. They are told in these seminars white men, middle-aged white men. I happen to be one. There's not much I could do about that. People, who are my contemporaries are told they must work hard to understand that white privilege, male privilege, and heterosexual privilege are not good. Things like rugged individualism, can-do attitude, hard work, and striving towards success are devastating to women and people of color. And then we're all supposed to repent and go in the mountains and write letters to all the women and people of color in our lives, apologizing for who we are. I said to Kathy yesterday, everybody I know is a woman or a person of color or both. I said, I would have to come down in 2023 after I did all of this. But this is what's going on, and this is what has been going on. And I'll just say this one thing, give the ball back to you for a moment. When it comes down to somebody's rights in a forum, now, okay, I go before the IRS Office of Appeals, and if I'm before a person who, instead of judging a case on the facts, the merit, the law, the circumstances, it's like, well, you walked in here with a tie and a briefcase, you were somebody of white privilege, no fair benefit for you, or the federal courts or whatever. I mean, this is like beyond wretched. Now, let me just say this. A very nice young gentleman by the name of Christopher Rufo of the Discovery Institute actually came on television last week and started to talk about this, but it goes even a lot farther than Mr. Rufo says. Your ball.
I actually saw this before you sent me the idea for this today to talk about this, and I watched this piece with my jaw wide open, saying I really can't believe that the United States government is funding some of this stuff, and this guy's getting rich off of it. Things that you had just mentioned to me. If I were a person of color, I'd be insulted by some of this stuff.
Well, that's what Kathy said. It's like, if you don't want any of that, I mean, what are you considered to be? A traitor, a Tom? I mean, this is like, again, we're being gaslighted.
And how about even other things like Fox News was reporting that NASA announced that it would strip all references to phrases such as Eskimo Nebula or Siamese twin galaxies. I mean, this is just, it's become ridiculous.
Beyond, it is to the point where I don't know what the objective of this is, but it's so destructive. And when you start to get into quote unquote how the country is supposed to work, where it hasn't been perfect, but it's done the basic functions of government well. And when you start putting in these whatever you want to call them personal agendas. We're on a very, very slippery slope, my friend. Lest you think we are, exempt from this sort of thing in our state. There is an organization, another one of our famous Connecticut nonprofits, called the State Education Resource Center. They've received $30.25 million over the past 6 or 7 years, and they are running seminars on quote unquote race equity, social justice, and white privilege. And you say to yourself, well, we have a lot of well-paid administrators and principals and things like that. It's like you have basic rules to follow. Can't you just do that? Their number 4 hitter in this thing is a gentleman by the name of Glenn Singleton, and he's a friend of Obama's. He's sort of like a kind of a cohort to this Robin DiAngelo, no relation to yours truly, who's teaching this stuff in institutions and colleges and things like that. This organization just received $1.6 million in June of this past year. Glenn Singleton is, if you go and you read a lot of what's been written about him in the past, he was in trouble with the United States Supreme Court for what he did in Seattle, in teaching this whole thing of any racism from anybody is bad, except if it comes from a black person to a white person. And Seattle said, Seattle, we know how crazy Seattle is. They said, this isn't right because, here you are, you're taking all this money and you're criticizing these Asian kids. And the Supreme Court excoriated this guy as, quote, unquote, a bad egg. Not my words, but those of the Supreme Court. And this is where money is going in the state. Now, personally, as a businessman, as a taxpayer, as a citizen, I'm livid. You're running for office. Hey, I'm giving you like 5 or 6 things you could run on. There shouldn't be $1 for this nonsense.
I agree with you 1,000%.
Not one.
I'd like to go back to what you said in the beginning about the gaslighting part of it, because I think that resonates with a lot of folks. You're absolutely right. You cannot turn on the television right now without somebody coming out and telling you that you're racist, you're wrong, you're out of touch, that we need to coddle to folks of color across the country. We need to make sure that everybody is on an even footing. Well, I thought that's what was going on for the. I just make that assumption. I thought that was what was going on for the last, at least every day that I've been alive. So but I think you're right. I think people now some people are beginning to question, hey, am I racist? Am I really? Do I really feel that way? And I can't believe that they've gotten to that point, and I think they have.
Well, and I say to people, it's like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The problem is, like I always say, you should have 3 books in your life. You should have, quote unquote, the religion you believe in. You should have the United States Constitution, and you should have whatever rules of your profession that you follow. If you do what's there, you don't have to do anything else. And it's just like. But I guess what happens is you have a whole bunch of people who can't hack that, much like Karl Marx did. So you got to create your own thing and, burn the whole thing down. The biggest reason is I can't do that, so I've got to do my own thing.
Oh, well, it seems like it's become like more the norm than atypical. It seems like that's what we're going to go through, and that's sort of the new. I don't know, Tony. It's very disheartening to me, because somebody who tries to grow up and who grew up and try to live a life where you really didn't pay attention to the color of somebody's skin, and certainly, I've been in a business where women have reached great points, and not only acting and radio. I never looked at anybody for any other thing than the content of their character. So it's just it's frustrating to have to talk about this every day.
Well, yeah, and the ability of what one would have to do, and that's basically what it comes down to, because when you start, and all this really is just, it puts everybody in a position of where we all came from, and
But you're always on a defensive. That I can't stand that. Everything that you do now is you have to defend, like you're in a defensive posture no matter what's going on, always.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But to those folks running for office, it's like, as a citizen of the state, I am like beyond livid. How does this stuff happen?
Do you think, though, that the folks out there who are listening to us right now, people of color out there, there are some obviously who want to try to grab every advantage possible. But don't you think most of the people out there just are insulted by a lot of this stuff?
Oh, no, certainly. I think all they want is a shot, and they do not want to be. They don't want to be disliked for who they are. None of us do, but I really think it is, because these are the people who have to turn to their own people and say, "No, you don't have it right," and then where we think we've got it bad, they've got it 6 times worse.
It all boils down.
I know them; they're my friends.
I know
people I've known for years.
It all boils down to hard. You work hard. You're smart. You're intelligent. You're creative. You're going to get ahead. Doesn't matter what color skin you are.
No matter what the economy is, if you're at the top of your game, they will find you.
That's exactly right. Tony, great stuff today. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, pal. All right. 47 after the hour, 6 o'clock. So.